Fire in the Barracks, the tragic love story of Dr. Haruna and Rhetta. It started like any other quiet evening in the barracks of Kaduna. The air was heavy with the faint scent of diesel and dust after a long, hot day. But at exactly 9:42 p.m., the peace of the night was broken by a scream so desperate, so piercing, that even the guards at the far end of the compound froze. Fire! Somebody help! When soldiers and neighbors rushed to House 7B, all they could see was smoke curling into the night sky. Inside, the living room was ablaze, flames licking the curtains, devouring the furniture, and there, on the floor, was Dr. Haruna, half conscious, his uniform shirt burning, his skin charred. His wife, Rhetta, stood by the doorway, trembling, holding a half-empty bottle of kerosene and sobbing uncontrollably. That was the night love died in the barracks. 6 months earlier, things were different. The wedding of Lieutenant Dr. Haruna Musa, a young, respected military medical officer, and Rhetta Ibrahim, a bright Christian nurse, was the talk of the entire cantonment. He was from Adamawa, tall, disciplined, calm, a man whose eyes carried both authority and kindness. Rhetta was from Plateau, beautiful, passionate, and deeply spiritual. They met during a medical outreach organized by the Nigerian army at an IDP camp. He admired her zeal for the poor. She admired his humility despite his rank. Their love was the kind people envied, two uniformed hearts united in purpose, service, and faith. On their wedding day, Dr. Haruna whispered, "Rhetta, no matter where life takes us, I'll always protect you, not just as a soldier, but as your husband." But love tested by fire sometimes melts, not molds. Military marriage was never easy. The constant relocations, the long nights, the unspoken rules of discipline, all these weighed on them. Rhetta, used to community life, found barracks life lonely. Her husband was often on call, tending to injured soldiers or assigned to medical missions. Slowly, distance crept in. When she complained, he would say, "Rhetta, duty comes first. You knew what marrying a soldier meant." She'd reply bitterly, "Yes, but I didn't know duty meant forgetting your wife." Arguments started small, about meals, money, schedules, but grew into accusations. Rhetta suspected infidelity after seeing text messages from a female colleague. Haruna denied it, but trust, once cracked, began to shatter. Soon, their home became a battlefield, the sound of prayers replaced by shouting, the peace of love replaced by pride. On that tragic night, the neighbors heard voices again. Loud, angry, unrestrained. "Haruna, I'm tired of being treated like a stranger in my own home." "Then stop acting like one. Rhetta, you've made this house unbearable." She accused him of cheating. He called her paranoid. One slap, one push, and the fragile wall between love and hate collapsed. Rhetta, in tears, grabbed a bottle of kerosene used for the generator and threatened, "Maybe when I'm gone, you'll finally have peace." Haruna, frustrated, shouted back, "Go ahead, Rhetta. You're nothing but drama." No one knows exactly what happened next. Some said she tried to pour kerosene to frighten him, not to burn him. Others said Haruna, in anger, struck her hand, and the lantern fell. But within seconds, the curtains caught fire. Rhetta screamed. Haruna tried to put it out, but the flames spread fast. His clothes caught fire, and within moments, he was engulfed in flames. By the time soldiers arrived, it was too late. Dr. Haruna was rushed to the military hospital, his own workplace. Doctors worked tirelessly through the night. The smell of burnt flesh filled the ward. His body was covered in 80% burns. He could barely speak, but those who stood by him said he whispered, "Tell Rhetta, I forgive her." He died at dawn. When the news broke, the barracks went silent. Soldiers stood in disbelief. Officers lowered their heads. To die in battle was honorable, but to die in your own home, at the hands of love, was something else. Rhetta was arrested immediately and placed in military custody. She looked pale, her eyes swollen from crying. "I didn't kill him," she repeated over and over. "It was an accident. I tried to stop the fire. I didn't mean to." Investigators from the military police pressed her. "Why did you have kerosene in your hand?" "It was for the generator," she said softly. "Why were you fighting again?" She broke down. "We fought every night. But I loved him. I never wanted this." A senior officer watching from behind the glass said quietly, "It's a tragedy of pride. Two good people destroyed by anger." Days turned into weeks. Rhetta sat alone in her cell, reading her Bible. The same hands that once nursed soldiers now trembled as she flipped through the pages. She kept reading Romans 12 verse 19. "Vengeance is mine, I will repay, says the Lord." Tears streamed down her cheeks. She wasn't seeking vengeance, only forgiveness. But how do you forgive yourself for setting your own husband on fire? Her pastor from the barracks chapel visited. "Rhetta," he said gently, "sin begins when we let anger stay longer than it should. You must find peace with God, even if the world never believes your innocence." She nodded slowly, whispering, "If only I had kept quiet that night. If only I had walked away." When the military concluded their investigation, the verdict was tragic but complex: manslaughter through negligence. She hadn't planned to kill him, but her anger had cost a life. She was sentenced to years in confinement. But within those cold walls, something changed. Rhetta began to lead prayer meetings among detained women. She spoke about forgiveness, pride, and anger. One of her favorite lines was, "Fire doesn't start big, it begins with a spark. So does destruction in marriage." She preached about communication, humility, and prayer. Slowly, she became a counselor to other military wives, warning them about the dangers of letting bitterness grow unchecked. Before he died, Dr. Haruna's colleagues decided to establish a small foundation in his honor, the Haruna Musa Memorial Fund, to provide counseling for soldiers and their families struggling with domestic violence. The foundation's motto was one of his favorite Bible verses from Ephesians 4 verse 26. "Be angry and do not sin. Do not let the sun go down on your anger." Ironically, it was a verse he and Rhetta had read together many nights during their early marriage. His family, though broken by grief, chose forgiveness. His elder brother said at the funeral, "We will not let bitterness claim two lives." Haruna has gone, but let forgiveness speak louder than revenge. Years later, from her confinement, Rhetta wrote a letter to Haruna's family. The letter was read during a Sunday service at the barracks chapel. Soldiers wept. Wives held their husbands' hands. The chaplain said quietly, "Sometimes God allows tragedy to warn others. May no home in this barracks ever burn again, literally or spiritually." Today, the house where they once lived still stands, blackened walls and broken glass, a silent monument to what anger can destroy. But among the ashes, there is a message, a warning that love without forgiveness becomes dangerous and anger without control becomes death. In her diary, found years later, Rhetta had written, "Moral and Christian message. Fire anger is a fire that burns the vessel that carries it. Broken heart marriage demands humility more than perfection. Person with praying hands, and no matter how broken things seem, forgiveness remains the only path to freedom."